Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brother. So the message that was sent to me, it reads like this. Looking back, I can hardly believe what I did. My name is Hidden. I am a father who is willing to do anything for his family, or so I thought. I have always considered myself a good man, someone who loves his family more than anything in the world. But a few years ago, I made a choice that has haunted me every day since that day. I don't know if I will be able to forgive myself. It was in 2015, and I had been out of work for almost a year. I was struggling to find a stable job. Any job I wanted, that job that would help me to provide for my wife and my son, who was only 3 years old at that time. My family, they were totally dependent on me, and every day that passed without work made me feel like more of a failure. I tried everything, job applications, networking, and even odd jobs, but nothing seemed to work. I was really desperate. One day, a friend told me about a witch doctor who was working right next to the township where we were staying with my wife. And maybe this could be the man who could open the doors and change our luck. My friend told me that he was willing to go with me to that place where the healer was. Maybe I was going to get some assistance because everyone in the township knew about the way that I was struggling. He said that this man had helped others secure jobs even when they had no qualifications. I was skeptical, but when you are desperate, you can listen even to a madman giving you worthless advice. I listened to my friend when he told me that this man was going to be my salvation. I went with him to that place, and I found myself standing outside a small, dimly lit shack that smelled strange herbs, and we knocked on the door, and a tall, thin man invited us in. He was dressed in a traditional attire with beads around his neck and bracelets on his wrists. He looked at me. When he looked at me, I felt a shiver running down my spine. He asked me what I wanted, and I told him about my struggles, about my family, and how I needed to find work. He nodded as if he had heard it all before and said that he was willing and he had the power to assist me. We should not delay, he said. We need to do this as quickly as possible. I kept on kneeling there as he kept on pouring some of the charms, which were powdered charms, into my hands and said that he was going to tell me what I was supposed to do with those powdered charms. He then told me that something else was needed, something that was really personal. I did not understand when he said that something that was so close to me for this ritual required a connection. And in my case, when he had looked into his mirror, my strongest connection was the connection, the bond that I had with my own son. I hesitated. My son, what did he mean by that? The healer said that I needed to use my son's name in the ritual, that it would bind the success that I sought for my family. He assured me that this was nothing but common practice and that many had done before me. I felt uneasy, but I was desperate. I didn't have any other option, so I agreed. I would have done anything to find a job to give my family a good life. As for the ritual was quick, just a few chants and symbols. He asked me to write my son's name on a piece of paper, which he then burned, muttering words that I could not even understand. He sprinkled some powder on the flames and asked me to focus on my son, to picture him clearly in my mind when it was over. He handed me a small pouch filled with herbs and told me to carry it with me all the times. He promised that within a week I'll find work. True to his word, I got a call for an interview 3 days later, and by the end of the day, I had a job, and I was really excited, for these were exciting times for me and my family. I returned back home, and I saw that indeed this job that I had gotten, it was going to give me a steady paycheck to cover our bills and even save a little. I was overjoyed and thankful. I thought that maybe, just maybe, the ritual had worked. Life totally improved and I could finally breathe. As for my wife was happy. My son was growing up and strong and healthy, and I felt as if I had regained my purpose in life. But then a few years later, things started to change. My son, who had always been healthy and an energetic boy, he began to fall ill. It started with small things. He would get tired easily, always hungry. We used to laugh and say that maybe there was a worm that was inside his stomach. Little did we know that he was carrying another human being in his stomach. A tokoloshi. That was what made him to eat a lot of food like that. So we started going around. I had totally forgotten about the person who had assisted me. But in my desperation, one night as I sat by his bed, that was when I remembered the ritual. And I knew that the reason as to why that man had made me to write down my son's name on a piece of paper, it was because he was the one who was going to be my sacrifice. Later in the evening, when me and my wife had retired to bed, that was when I was told that my son, his blood was needed by my tokologies. That is how my son passed away. What hurts me the most is that I cannot share this confession with any of my immediate relatives, for they will tell my wife, and if they tell my wife, then things won't be so good, will they? As for my son, I sacrificed him. Wherever he is, I hope that he will find it in his heart to forgive me. I did this not because I am an evil person. I did it because I was trying to give him a better opportunity in life. I did it because I wanted him to stay in a nice environment whereby he was going to be able to focus on his own education. But I totally failed. Here I am right now. Each and every time when I go to bed, like what the tokologist told me, I cannot sleep on the bed. I have to sleep on the floor, for that is what the tokologist told me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admins who helped us with this translation. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.